I can't believe I'm recommending a Nissan Versa. This feels like a dream where I'm naked in speech class, but so is the one girl who was mean to me, so it evens out. And then I realize that I'm dreaming, so I walk out of the school and fly away, but I'm still naked, so I bust as I fly over Renninger's Farmers Market. It's an actual place, Cooklehaven, Pennsylvania. Look it up. That's the place I busted on the roof of in my dreams. The mud parking lot. This is the final year of the Nissan Versa, Nissan's cheapest car, and the final year for any entry-level Nissan to have a manual transmission. I used to groan at the sight of a Versa. Ugh, my lift is here and it's a Versa. Great. It's time to sit on a collapsing suspension, put my butt on a seat that feels like hostile architecture, and listen to the plastic interior panels crush and scrape like a toddler recreating the North Hollywood shootout with CVS toy cars and Lego men. Oh good, my lift is here, and it's a Nissan Versa. My headphones are going on, noise canceling is going on, and Fu Manchu is cranked because I'm in a Nissan Versa, which means that the driver is losing custody of his 4-year-old daughter, and the solution is a loud phone call on speaker. But now, in the end of 2025, the Versa stands in its twilight year as one of the few remaining entry-level cars with a manual transmission. And the shifter feels, good. Like Subaru good. Nothing weird, solid, and precise. Now, I have some reservations about how it chooses to operate, or how you are expected to interact with this manual transmission. I'll get to that in a moment, but let's talk about this interior. It's not new. And it's no longer contemporary. This interior is a time machine back to 2018, when touchscreens were small and rounded, molded plastics were still present. And you know what? Feels nice in here. Feels nice and like home. There's a pre-pandemic feeling of nostalgia, a nostalgia for the recent past in here. And I like it. It's uncomplicated. It's not trying to wow me with anything. This Nissan Versa is just saying, look, I'm a cheap car and I'm priced that way. Here's your stick shift. Have at it. I didn't want to have a backup camera, but it's the law now, so there's one here. It's one of the perfect cars to have a manual transmission, but the manual transmission is going away. 2025 Nissan Versa.
I run a small cafe. We're open from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Closed Friday through Monday, cash only. Why don't people support small businesses?
We've talked about poststructuralism before. It's literary theory time. But poststructuralism applies here to this Nissan Versa because one of the tenets of poststructuralism is that there is no universal truth anymore. Because meaning is not stable. Meaning relies on the person interpreting the structure, and when I say structure, I'm referring to something like this YouTube video, the phone you may be watching this on, a billboard that you may be passing, the stickers on your laptop, the choice of font on a lawnmower. Structure, it's media. It's anything that can be seen and interpreted. So I'll run this sentence again. Meaning relies on the person interpreting the structure rather than on the structure itself. So there are multiple meanings and multiple ways to interpret truth because there are multiple different people bringing their own experiences to the structure, which again means the meeting, the art, the media, the book, the music, the podcast, the news. Ugh. Heck, it could even be a tree. Now, in the automotive world, this means we, regular car reviews, are less concerned about what a car is than what the car means to the person interpreting it. And sometimes those respective meanings contradict each other. For instance, one person might see a Tesla go by and think, there's someone who cares about the environment, while another person might see a Tesla and think, there's someone with a cultural awareness of an 80s comedian thawed out of cryosleep. He's going to the Comedy Cellar, and it's open mic night, and nothing's updated. While another person might see the very same Tesla and think, wow, that person likes law and order. And another person might see the Tesla and think, wow, that person is looking for a dictator to bow down to. And coming in the other lane, here's a Cummins diesel. And one person may think, there's a guy who knows his way around a shaft. And another person might see the same Cummins diesel and think,
there's a guy who knows his way around a shaft, yeah.
So one person might look at a Nissan Versa as a depressing car because it's the last 5-speed manual under $30,000. And from here on out, everything is going to be a 3-cylinder engine with a wet timing belt and a CVT that blows up at 70,000 miles. But another person might see the very same Versa and think of it as Nissan's redemption. And part of the challenge of this car is reconciling those two interpretations. If this were 2015, I would hate this car because there were better options out there. But now in 2025, this is as good as it gets if you're trying to buy a new stick shift. And it's not even like it's that good either. But it's not the modern Nissan I was dreading it to be. It's not some 3-cylinder engine with a turbo that's going to shred itself and a dog water CVT. This has a shockingly quiet 1.6-liter 4-cylinder, making 122 horsepower and 114 pound-feet of torque. It's matched to a 5-speed manual transmission, and together you get steering that resembles a classic American car. It's kind of, mashed potato-y, which is a really odd thing for a small car like this to emulate, but that's just how it is. It's simultaneously nostalgic and awkward, like a clown's funeral. In fact, we initially thought this could potentially be a great first manual because it is cheap and it's straightforward, but as I got to drive this Versa more, I started to see some of the issues that could hold this back from a wider audience. And not just for people hoping for a cheap new car for learning stick shift, but also enthusiasts who are really jonesing for more manual option cars. There aren't good haptics in here. There's no snatch and grab with the clutch. Basically, you need to come into this Nissan Versa already knowing the basics of stuff like you need to know how to drive stick before you drive this car. You need to know what bite point means. And yeah, driving stick is simple enough to get the hang of as long as you put the time in. But I don't think the goal of this gearbox was precision or being feel good. There's too much nanny state going on right here. The rev hang is way too high. The clutch is so soft. It's you have to know how the clutch is engaging without feeling that initial pull, because there is no initial pull. Everything's smoothed out. There's an alien, absent, detached feeling to everything in here. So you have to have an understanding of, what a throwout bearing is. You need to mentally know what's going on here because the Versa isn't going to give you the feedback in the same way, a 90s Civic will. Now, there are sources that are saying this is a very durable transmission. You're not going to have to worry about anything for 250,000 miles. On the transmission at least, which is great, but a manual transmission doesn't automatically turn something into a performance car. Take, for instance, the Honda Element. Yeah, you can have them as a stick shift, but it's kind of like, so what? From the perspective of poststructuralism, putting a manual into a car like this invites contradictory expectations. For one, it looks like it was built for people who view cars as appliances, but those people generally don't drive stick. Two, it's a car that preserves the dying manual transmission, which is great, but not in a form that anybody wants. Case in point, Nissan is discontinuing the manual Versa due to a lack of demand. Meaning is consistently shifting to where a manual transmission isn't automatically appealing to enthusiasts. It has to offer more than stick, even at a time where manuals are dying off in North America. What you have to do is you have to approach a Honda manual transmission. Make it at least as good as a Subaru. A stick shift Impreza with the 2.2-liter engine from the 90s, that's a fun car to drive. It's expressive, it's eager, it's joyful to rev out. This is logical and it's functional, but it lacks that immediate emotion that 90s and mid-2000s cars had. Rolling in it in second gear, here's full throttle, we are at full blast. There is 35, 40,
45 coming up to red line into third. That's sloppy shifting on my part. Up to highway speeds. Decent growl. There is no attempt to make fake engine sounds coming into this. I remember the owner when we did the Toyota 4Runner. Instantly I heard, this engine sounds way too good for a Toyota. Like, this has to be piped in. And he said, please don't tell me that. And then of course we did the research, and yes, Toyota is piping fake engine sounds into the cabin of all 4Runners now. Not this. This is just making 4-cylinder sounds.
Yes, I concede that throttle-by-wire offers advantages and will smooth out a sloppy driver's poor shifting. But when it comes to more advanced stuff like rev matching, you can't do it. But the difference between stick shift cars in 2025 and stick shift cars in 2005 is the difference between playing an original 1980s Pac-Man arcade game and playing the one-up version of it. It's not the same. It has to be a CRT. It has to be heavy controls. Anyway, at the time we reviewed this Versa, there were only about 800 miles on the odometer. So it's not like the gearbox had really been put through the ringer, so we can't speak on durability of this specific model. But this feels like it could have been a good start for some sort of manual resurgence for Nissan. But refining this gearbox would have required greater financial commitment than I think Nissan was in a position to offer. And you can tell because the interior is cheaper than a backhanded compliment. They give you these, I wish they wouldn't have done this, but they did it. They give you these fake interior stitching. It's molded into the plastic. Fake interior stitch. Come on. What are you, General Motors? What are you, 04 rich? You also get steel wheels on the cheapest tire size you can get this side of tire rack. 195 65 R15. Now I know these are narrow tires. They're going to not have a whole lot of grip, but at the same time I'm making fun of this with like wheel and tire size. It does fit. They make more 195 65 15-inch tires than almost anything else on the planet. So you're going to be my boy got them ling longs on this. You can put anything you want on this. And because this thing's I don't know what the limiter is. I'm guessing it's probably about $1.15. You're never going to worry about overheating the tires. But one strange thing I noticed is that it has a spare tire. It has a donut, and there's the spare tire well there under the carpet in the trunk. But the spare tire well is big enough for a full-size spare, but they didn't give you one. So I wonder, in some markets, did they get a full-size spare? Or could you ask for one? I mean, I suppose if you really wanted to, you could just go out and buy a Steely and a fifth tire and plop it in here. That way you don't have to worry about messing with the donut ever. Maybe if Nissan had merged with Honda like they were talking about doing, they would have had enough cash to put full-size spares in these things. Do dealers even want you to buy a manual these days? As the owner Parker told us, the dealer kept trying to sell him on the sportier SR trim with the misery-inducing CVT, and you can see why. It's $2,000 more than the stick shift. Anytime Parker found a Versa S that he wanted to buy in stick shift, it would either be sold before he could get it, or the second he walked on the lot and realized that this guy wanted this car and this car alone because it's a stick shift, they immediately would slap markups on it just for him. A $800 dealer fee. Or $700 for license plate fees. It was total crap. And then they'd bring you and then he said they'd bring him into the finance office and try to upsell him on a whole bunch of other stuff he didn't need. This guy walked away from desks and out of dealerships the second they started doing that. Remember, that's the best weapon you have against dealers. It's your 2 feet. Stand up and walk out. You didn't sign shit, they don't owe you shit. Sorry for swearing. In a post-structuralist way, this is a car of contrasts. Even at a dealer markup, it's still likely to be cheaper than most new cars on the road. And there's a cognitive dissonance between what this car is and how much it costs. It should theoretically be more expensive, but it's not. It's just a cheap manual beater in a world where beaters they don't really exist. The kind of car we should be happy still exists. But post-structuralism says that meaning isn't fixed. So cheap won't necessarily mean desirable. Tech-equipped won't always mean valuable. And a manual transmission won't always mean fun and engaging. Like any good text, a car will challenge you to construct meaning, even as the Versa itself hardly feels like it means anything at all. So you reached the end of the video. Is it a good car? Should you buy one? Well, this person bought one. If you really want to buy a new car and you want it to be cheap and you want it to be stick shift, and for whatever reason, you don't want to hunt down a nice one on Facebook Marketplace, you don't want like a stick shift Toyota Matrix, not the XRS, just a regular one, and you don't want to do that for whatever reason that you're scared of doing maintenance yourself, I guess, okay. Have a new car with a stick shift. It's going to be as simple as you can possibly get, and you can be proud that you have a stick shift. Is this as good as a Honda? No. Is it as good as a Toyota? Hell no. Is this car as good as a Subaru? No. Well, it's better than a Chevy, I guess, maybe. Would I rather have this or a Chevy Cruze and stick? Yeah, I'd take this over a domestic product, so it has that going for it. Well, thank you, Nissan, for keeping the stick shift in the Versa for as long as possible. A little bit of silence here. I guess we're all getting older. And maybe when we're in the nursing home and there are no modern stick shifts anymore, we may opine about them in the same way that the silent generation or the boomers opine about cars that didn't have seatbelts. And the nurses will look at us with detached humor and give us our pills and our mushy peas. Also, you're gay.